Hi! I'm here to do another Star Wars book review. So I actually literally just recorded this video and I went back to edit it and realized that I had a huge booger in my nose the whole time. Yeah, so we're doing it again. I reread the Heir to the Empire trilogy, which I will surmise briefly. Also, disclaimer. These videos are for people who care about Star Wars but will never take the time to read all of the books, as there are many, and avid fans who already know what this is about. If you have any interest in reading the Heir to the Empire trilogy, which I highly recommend, stop, exit. This is not for you. I will be spoiling it, as will I be spoiling Jedi Search, which is the first installment of the Jedi Academy trilogy. So let's get into it. In the Heir to the Empire trilogy, which takes place 2 years after the events of Return of the Jedi, we of course meet Grand Admiral Thrawn. Heir to the Empire trilogy was written by Timothy Zahn, by the way. Just throwing that in there. And it is noteworthy because A, he is the only Grand Admiral left, and also because the Emperor Palpatine had a huge distaste for aliens. He was speciesist? Racist? Whatever. He didn't like them. He promoted mostly humans and mostly human men. So yeah, there's that. Just another thing to hate about him. So anyways, yeah, Grand Admiral Thrawn, he's a wizard tactician, just absolutely knows how to read his enemies. The first time we meet him, Captain Palion, who is the captain of the Star Destroyer Chimera, walks into his Grand Admiral Thrawn's sort of like his private chambers, and there's just alien artwork everywhere, and Thrawn points out you can really learn a species' weaknesses by their art. And Captain Palion's like, okay, yeah, whatever. Grand Admiral Thrawn has sort of a right-hand bodyguard sort of situation named Rook. Not really right-hand, more of like a subservient sort of situation. Rook is a Nogri. Nogri is a species of like sort of dog-like aliens. They're excellent assassins. They're just silent killers. They're great warriors. That will be noteworthy later. So anyway, that happens. We meet him. We also meet Mara Jade, who throughout the series we come to find out was the hand, or one of the hands of the Emperor, dispatched to do his secret biddings, which he wanted nobody else to know about. And one of the last commands that he gave her was, you must kill Luke Skywalker. So she has this huge, massive hatred for Luke Skywalker. He ruined her life, whatever. She thinks he killed the Emperor, who was like her savior or whatever. So yeah, we meet them. Leia's pregnant with twins. Grand Admiral Thrawn had went to Wayland, which is just this kind of nowhere planet, to find a very particular person, and this person was Joris Both. Now we come to find out that Joris Both is actually a clone, and he's like a dark Jedi master, and he's a clone of an old actual Jedi master, like pre-Clone Wars. So pre-Clone Wars, the real Joris Both and a handful of other Jedi went somewhere to do a mission and failed, but the Emperor took Joris Both and cloned him for his own dark purposes. So now we have dark Jedi Master Joris Both, who's just like a crazy, kooky, like irrational, unpredictable old man. And he wants to, like, his whole vision of power is he wants Jedi Knights to make in his own image. So he agrees to help Grand Admiral Thrawn in return for Leia, her two babies, Luke and Mara. because he's felt Mara's presence burgeoning in the Force, and he wants her and whatever. So that's a whole problem. So Leia eventually, these Noghri that I was talking about, Thrawn dispatches them to capture her on Kashyyyk, and she ends up, one of them like smells her hand and is like, oh my god, you're Lady Vader, like you're Vader's daughter, and he saved us, and blah blah blah. So she goes to the Noghri home planet. I forget its name. Whatever, it's not important. I forget the name of their planet, but she uncovers basically that Vader and the Emperor had manipulated this entire species of people to be subservient to them and send their sons out for all these missions across the galaxy and whatever. So she kind of like saves their people, so they are indebted to her. At the end of the book, I'm summarizing super fast. At the end of the book, Joris had made a clone, somehow had made a clone of Luke, and there's this whole huge battle because they wanted to go to the Emperor's secret stronghold to get the Sparty cylinders, which Thrawn was using now to... Sparty cylinders are cloning cylinders, like that which we see in Attack of the Clones. So they had gone there to kind of sabotage that whole thing, and C'baoth was there. So there's this huge showdown. C'baoth had made a copy, or a clone of Luke. So Luke engages in this lightsaber battle with a clone of himself, which is epic, by the way. And then Mara Jade gets involved, right? And then, you know, throughout the whole series, she's like had this voice in her head of the Emperor, like telling her to do stuff. You must kill Luke Skywalker, and it makes her angry and irrational. And so in that moment, she strikes down the clone of Luke, and as she sees this Luke fall to the floor, the voices disappear. So there's like a friendship there now, whatever. So then, you know, Leia has her twins, and Rook, Thrawn's Noghri, had realized that the Empire had deceived them, so Rook stabs Grand Admiral Thrawn, and he's dead. As far as we know, he's dead, right? So that's basically where Heir to the Empire leaves off. Leia has her twins. Mara Jade goes off to do Mara Jade things. She's hooking up with Talon Card to go get the smugglers together to work for the New Republic or whatever. And yeah, there's that. After that, a period of time passes. There's a couple books between the Heir to the Empire trilogy and the Jedi Academy trilogy. The only really noteworthy thing that happens in that period of time, 2 years, it's a 2-year period of time. The only noteworthy thing that happens is apparently Joris Both did not die. So Luke goes back and like kind of falls to the dark side for a little while, and then is saved. So he's a little more cautious, a little more jaded now. That's really the only noteworthy thing that happens in between. So now we are on the Jedi Academy trilogy, which is now written by Kevin J. Anderson. It's now 7 years since the events of Return of the Jedi. Excuse me, some Earl Grey. Picard would be proud. Oh yeah, my shirt. You can like both, by the way. I know I'm doing a Star Wars review, but you can like both. So, Earl Grey tea in my Star Wars mug. In the beginning of Jedi Search, it's been 7 years since the events of Return of the Jedi. 2 years since the events of Heir to the Empire concluded. Book starts off with Luke gearing up to address the council to basically ask for funds and for their blessing to look for force-sensitive people and a planet where he can build a Jedi Academy so that he can reestablish the Jedi Knights as protectors of the New Republic as it was before. Kind of repeating the same mistakes that we've already seen, but he doesn't really know that, so. anyways, the council's like, yeah, sweet, go ahead, do it, that's awesome. Rah rah. So he's all excited, so he goes to do that. He leaves to go do that. Leia makes Han, who has been reinstated as a general, I think, in the New Republic. She deems him as an ambassador, and he and Chewbacca go to Kessel as ambassadors of the New Republic to try to ingratiate Kessel into the New Republic. Into the bosom of the New Republic. So, for those of you who don't know, super fans will know, but Kessel, everybody knows that Han made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. Kessel is a huge mining operation. It always has been. One of its primary things is spice, which is essentially the Star Wars equivalent of heroin. Yes, Han was a drug runner. That's a thing. So, anyways, Han has dealt with Kessel before, so that's why Leia sends him as an ambassador. So, upon his arrival, he's greeted by Skinx. I think it's Skinx. It's Skynxnex. Skinx? I don't know, Skinx, that's how I'm doing it. And Skinx takes him to the office where Maruth Duel is waiting. Now, Han knows Maruth Duel, and Maruth Duel certainly knows Han, and really does not like him at all. Because the infamous Greedo scene, in A New Hope, when Greedo's like, can't you just drop a shipment at the first sign of an Imperial boarding, blah, blah, blah. And Han's like, it's not my fault, I was about to get boarded, it's not my fault. Right, so that shipment, actually, Han had picked up from Duel, we'll just call him Duel, Maruth Duel, who's like a reptilian sort of slimy scumbag nonsense, whatever. So he had picked up that shipment from Duel and was going to distribute it to Jabba, when of course he had to drop it because he was about to get boarded. But Jabba exacted his vengeance on Duel by sending people and have his eye taken out. So Duel wears this like mechanical eye. I'm picturing like a cyberpunk sort of situation. Yeah, so Duel hates him basically. He's like, you're the reason I lost my eye, blah blah blah, fuck you basically. And so he sends Han and Chewbacca down to the spice mines where they're supposed to be forgotten forever. Now the spice mines, spice is interesting because in order to mine it, you have to do it in complete and utter darkness because light activates it, so you have to mine it in the darkness, and then when it hits the light, it's like releases and it activates the glitter stem, and then you eat it and get high, right? So they're down in the mines, they meet a young man named Kip, who knows the mines really well. He's basically been there his whole life, and he seems to be able to navigate in complete and utter darkness without a problem. So stuff happens there. I'm going to skip to the good part though, which is where they escape, because obviously they escape. So they escape, they steal a really, really, really old Imperial shuttle, and they're getting off Kessel, and Duel is furious. He's fucking pissed. So he gathers all of his ships, his ragtag fleet, and he's like, oh my god, you have to go get him. You have to go get him. I should have just killed him when I had the chance. You have to go get him. And there's no shield on the ship that they had stolen, so they have to go into the maw, which is essentially like a black hole. So they go into this black hole. Okay. Meanwhile, Luke was off to collect some new Jedi, right? So his first contestant, applicant, okay, his first applicant that he wanted to pick up is called Gantoris. So Gantoris lives on a planet called El Shah, and El Shah is just riddled with volcanoes and earthquakes and geysers, and the moon is about to crash into it in a few years. So it's just a doomed sort of planet. So Luke arrives to an almost empty village, except for there's two people there. And they're like, oh yeah, some kid fell into the rocks. trying to get some bugs. So everybody's down there trying to save them. So Luke goes, and the whole village is heaving all these rocks, trying to save these children. And he uses the Force to lift all the rocks off the children, because, as we all know, it all comes back to lifting rocks. So he saves the children, but Gantoris is still not having it. Now, Gantoris is a big man with a commanding presence. He's clearly the leader of the village. He has a long black braid down his back. Now, I'm picturing kind of like a Jason Momoa sort of situation, with a long black braid down his back, and he's totally clean shaven and no eyebrows, so his whole face is clean. He's just like, brute. So he's a little mean seeming to Luke, and he's like, okay, I had a vision of a dark man who's coming to teach me and ended up destroying me. So you have to prove your intentions here with me. So Luke's like, alright, well, I got to do this. So Gantoris takes him down into the earth, like, okay, we're going to collect some lichens for the village to eat, basically. So they're digging their hands into these rocks, trying to get these lichens. And Gantoris is like, well, let's split up. It'll be easier that way. So they split up, and then Luke notices that Gantoris is gone. And then he feels the earth start to shake under him, so he's climbing, trying to get out of this hole in the ground. And then a geyser starts to squirt up, so Luke force flips right out of the hole, and the whole village is just kind of standing there, like, just staring at him. As if they were waiting for this, like it was a test. So Gantoris is like, oh, well, I'm still not impressed. I have one more test for you. So the whole village, Gantoris in the lead, goes down underneath the rocks, and they come upon a giant lava lake. And Gantoris says, walk across the lake of fire. So Luke sees all these stepping stones, and he's like, okay. So he starts going across all these stepping stones. And then a fire dragon pops out. Giant fire dragon. So of course Luke does battle with it. He obviously wins. Fire dragon, woo! Goes back down into the steaming lake of lava. But all of the walking steps are all splattered all over the place now, so there's no way that he can cross the lake. So he just closes his eyes, and like Jesus, Luke walks across the lake of fire via the Force, and Gantoris is like, gooped. So, of course, he says, of course, I'll come with you, teach me this power. Cool. So now they're off to Bespin, where Luke has an idea that there might be another candidate. So they're on Bespin on one of the floating platforms. Bespin, Cloud City, for those of you who don't know. So in comes this super old man on these floating platforms suspended by balloons, okay, like some sort of Wizard of Oz, and he just descends upon their eye level, and Luke gives him the spiel, come to my academy, trying to save the New Republic, blah 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 blah. And Skeen is like, well, I just can't handle, Skeen is the name of the old dude, and he's like, well, I just can't handle being around that many people, that's why I'm isolated, there's too many thoughts, too much blah, 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 and he's just so anxious, and Luke's like, worry not, I will teach you how to block all that out. Cool, so they go back to Coruscant, all three of them. Now Leia, back in Coruscant, has been kind of pissed because her children, who have been with Winter, she has the twins, and she now has her third kid, right, Anakin, but the homecoming of the twins was supposed to be this past week, and the kids came home to stay. They had been under Winter, her assistant's protection, on a secret planet, but now they were with her to stay. But Han wasn't there, so she was a little irritated, and Winter's like, well, if anybody else had been missing this long, you would have sent an entire battalion. Are you sure that you aren't just, like, worried out of your mind? And Leia's like, yeah, okay, I'm a little worried. And Luke and Lando are like, well, where's Han? Oh, he's not here, and you didn't tell anybody. Well, he went to Kessel. Okay, we're gonna go check it out. So they go to check out Kessel and talk to Duel and see what's going on. And Duel, of course, is lying through his teeth, his reptilian teeth, the whole time. And they know it, but Luke can't sense Han anywhere until they find the Falcon. They find the Falcon, and Lando's like, I knew you were lying. I knew you were lying. Tell me what you did with Han. And Duel's like, meh. So he calls all of his guards, And so they're all chasing Lando and Luke now, and they take the Falcon. Luke, Lando, and R2, they take the Falcon and they just take off, running from all of these ships that Duel has sent after them. Okay, so that's happening. Meanwhile, Han, Chewie, and Kip had flown into the mall, right? And they came upon this island, this gravitational island, and in the center of it are 4 Star Destroyers, and they're like, oh my god, so they're in more trouble. So the Star Destroyers pull them in, and it turns out that the person in charge is Admiral Dala, so she now is the only admiral left. She's notable because she was a lover, one of the lovers of Tarkin. Weird. Also, she's a woman, which, as we know, the Emperor was not into promoting women. And she was tasked 10 years ago with protecting this research facility instituted by Tarkin. We think unbeknownst to the Emperor, not really sure, but this research facility was responsible for the creation of the Death Star, basically. So she's there, and she interrogates Han, only to find out, because they've been in this mall, right, isolated from the rest of the world for 10 years. And Han tells her, look, the Emperor's dead. The Emperor's been dead for 7 years. We destroyed the first Death Star, like 9 years ago. We destroyed the second Death Star. The Emperor is dead. Darth Vader is dead. We defeated Grand Admiral Thrawn. Countless worlds are in the New Republic. The New Republic is in power now. That's what's going on. And so she's like, oh, shit, okay. So she throws them all in prison. But one of the head scientists there, Cui Zoo, who's like a blue-skinned alien with giant blue eyes and like white hair, very slender, very naive. She wants to talk to Han, so she sequesters Han in her lab. And she's like, okay, you have to tell me about the Death Star because I created it, but I have to know what it was like. Tell me what it sounded like, what it smelled like, what it looked like, blah, blah, blah. I have to know. And he's like, you know what it was used for, right? And she's like, oh yeah, I built it so that, we could destroy dead planets so that, the gravitational field would allow for newer planets, newer habitable planets for people to move to. And he's like, no, the Death Star literally destroyed Alderaan with billions of people along with it. And she's like, no, that didn't happen. She'd built all of these atrocities and just was like totally delusional and thinking that they were being used for good. And Han's like, dude, listen to their names. They're clearly war machines that you've been building. What is wrong with you? And she's like, no. So she's totally delusional until Admiral Dala calls her up and she's like, okay, is your Sun Crusher ready? Because Cui had been working on something called a Sun Crusher, which is a sleek, black, armored ship. And, okay, super sleek, super armored ship, super fast, that literally shoots out, like, rays that go into a star. And it releases once it enters the star, it releases all of these, like, combustions, basically, to break the star apart. So it's a solar system killer, okay? Called the Sun Crusher. She's been building this. And Dala's like, okay, so the New Republic is in control. They've destroyed everything I've ever cared about, so we're just gonna go give them a blow. I hope your Sun Crusher's ready, because we're gonna go. And Cui's like, eep! Oh my god! So she goes, and basically she gets Han out of prison. She gets Kip out of prison. She gets, whatever, she saves the 3 of them, Han, Kip, and Chewie. They go to the Sun Crusher because they're going to steal it. Because Cui's like, I'm not going to be part of this anymore. Dala, of course, is furious. So she sends out all of her TIE fighters. She sends out everyone. You have to stop them. We have to stop them. We have to stop them. And the Sun Crusher, with Kip using his Force abilities, Kip directs the Sun Crusher out of the mall. And Dala, in pursuit with 3 of her Star Destroyers, because on the way out, Han clipped one of the Star Destroyers, which was totally cool. But he killed the Star Destroyer, and so there's only 3 now, but that's still, like, a lot, because that's, like, just a lot, like, a lot of battalions of TIE fighters and everything. So the Sun Crusher comes out, of the Maw to find the Falcon running around in circles, about to enter the Maw itself, and just an entire armada of hodgepodge ships that they recognize as duels. So they get in contact, and Han's like, whoever's flying my ship, basically, F you. And Lando's like, oh my god, it's us. And Han's like, oh my god, it's you. So Han sends them some coordinates because the Falcon's nav computer had been screwed, so like I said before, they couldn't jump to hyperspace. So Dala then comes out of the Maw, and she sees this whole armada, and she thinks it's a trap. She thinks, oh my god, we've been lured out of the Maw, and the entire New Republic is here, so she's all distracted and has forgotten about the Sun Crusher because she thinks that it's a trap. Duel's army is so freaked out by the appearance of 3 Star Destroyers that they forget entirely about the Falcon, and they turn their attack on the Star Destroyers. So there's a whole big mess. And it's the perfect time for the Falcon and the Sun Crusher to slip out and exit into hyperspace to go back to Coruscant. So at the end of the book, obviously there's a reunion with Han and his 2 young children, Jacen and Jaina, and Leia, and it's very touching. Yeah, so there's that. And Luke, actually Mon Mothma had appointed Yavin 4 to be the location of Luke's new Jedi Academy, which is perfect. As you remember, Yavin 4 was the rebel base from A New Hope, because there are already buildings there, so they don't have to build anything. It's isolated, so no real damage can be done by these Jedi fledglings with their, like, not knowing how to control power at all. So Luke starts this whole Jedi Academy, and